Hey, mighty men of God, Joe Martin here with Real Men Connect, where we help good men become great men God's way by providing real answers to real problems in the real world. Excuse me as I adjust my camera real quick. Guys, we're on the Real Men Ride Along, and this is going to be a real quick video. I just want to share a story with you that I think hopefully will bless you. And this happened to me a long time ago. And I say a long time ago, it's when I was in my 20s. And the lesson behind it is right now, I just want to give you the lesson up front, is to begin at the end. Let me say that again. Begin at the end. Well, let me take you back to when I was a college professor. I was in my 20s as a college professor, and we didn't have many students of color on our campus. We didn't have many students of color, probably less than 5% out of 10,000 students on our campus. And there was a young man who was one of my former students, but he was very active on campus, and everyone knew him. I knew him. And when you're a person of color on a campus that's predominantly white, most people know each other. And so I got a call from one of the counselors that told me that she wanted me to talk to this one particular student. It was a male student, one of my students, African-American student, and she was very irate about it. She said, "Joe, you need to talk to him. Yeah, I mean, you got to talk to him because he's driving me crazy, and maybe you can speak some sense into him." Now, let me tell you what she wanted me to do. The problem was that he wore dreadlocks in his hair. And she did not like him wearing dreadlocks because she thought that would hamper his chances of getting a job, getting job interviews, that he would be perceived when if he met someone. And this was way back, you're talking about close to 20 years ago. So you imagine now, dreads now is kind of commonplace, but you imagine how this student stood out. So she was concerned about it. She said, "Joe, will you tell him to take those dreads out of his hair? He won't talk to me. He won't listen to me." And so she said, "I'm sending him over to your office." So she sends him over to my office. The young man arrives at my office, and you can tell he had an attitude. And he says, "All right, Professor Martin, go ahead, say what you got to say." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I know what you're going to tell me. I need to take these dreadlocks out of my head. Miss such and such," the lady's name, said, "Miss such and such told me that you want me to cut my, you're going to tell me to cut my dreads." I said, "No, I'm not going to ask you to cut your dreads, and I didn't ask you to come over here to cut your dreadlocks." And he was shocked. And he said, "You're not going to ask me to cut it?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't care what you do with your hair." And he looked at me. He said, "Really?" I said, "Well, I just want to ask you a question. That's the reason I asked her to send you over, not to tell you to cut your hair." And guys, I remember I told you the lesson is start with the end from the beginning. So I looked at this young man and I asked him, because I knew he was majoring in engineering. And then I asked him, I said, "What kind of engineering, what field in engineering are you majoring in?" He says, "Mechanical engineering." I said, "What do you want to do with that degree when you graduate?" He says, "I want to build cars and design cars for a living." He wanted to design cars for a living. And I said, "How good of an engineer do you want to be?" And he didn't understand the question. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Do you want to just be a good mechanical engineer? Do you want to be a great mechanical engineer, or do you want to be one of the best mechanical engineers in the country?" And of course, you know what he said. He wanted to be one of the best in the country. And so I simply asked him this question. I said, "So you're not going to be mediocre, you're going to be exceptional?" He said, "Yeah, I want to be in the top 10% of people designing cars for a living." I said, "Okay, so let me ask you this question." I said, "Now, that person you like to become in the future, who's going to be this amazing kick-butt car designer," I said, "I want you to picture that person in your head right now." I said, "Can you get that person in your head right now?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Now, that's going to be you in whatever number of years. I want to ask you this question. What would he say about your hair today? And what decision would he make about your hair today?" Guys, I'm pulling into a parking lot, so excuse me as I stop the car. But I said, what would he say about your hair today? Now, I told him, don't answer the question for me. I just want you to think about it. What would he say about your hair? That person you like to become in the future, what would he say about your hair today? What advice would he give you about your hair today? What would he think about your hair today? And I said, you listen to me. If he's okay with your hair being that way, forget anything anybody tells you. You don't listen to anybody. Me, the teachers, no one. You listen to that person in the future you like to become. But if he tells you he doesn't like that and he would not advise that, then I would advise you to listen to what he has to say. I said, but don't tell me what the answer is. And I let him leave the office. Well, a couple of days later, the lady who had sent him over to me called me up, and she was thanking me profusely. Oh, Joe, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I knew it would work. I said, knew what? What are you talking about? And she mentioned the student and said, he cut his hair. He cut off those dreaded dreadlocks, Joe. I'm so glad you told him to cut off his hair. I never told that boy to cut off his hair. I just had him think from the end at the beginning. Think of your end at the beginning. What kind of father do you ultimately want to become? What kind of husband do you ultimately want to become? What kind of Christian do you ultimately want to become? What kind of spiritual leader do you ultimately want to become? And how will they make the choices you're making today? As a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a spiritual head of your household, even thinking about financially where you like to be in the future. What kind of choices? What would they think about your choices you're making today? Begin at the end. That's where you want to start and work your way back to the present. Guys, if this bless you, please share with another brother who may need to hear this message that you're maybe discipling or mentoring. And remember, we're males by birth, but we are men by choice. So each and every day, choose to be the man, started from the end to the beginning, to be the kind of man that God called and created you to be. Because a male is a terrible thing to waste. Till next time, be blessed, stay strong, and as always, stay in God's grip. Talk to you soon.